for pre-need funerals, burials, or cremation since 1975. Curtis and Son Funeral Home, Sylacauga, Childersburg. In obituary news this morning, Virginia Marie Roselle Crawford died June the 24th. And there will be a memorial service held from the chapel of Curtis and Son Funeral Home in Sylacauga under the direction of John Rideout's Funeral Home. That will be on Friday at 10 o'clock. Memorial service at 11. In lieu of flowers, you may make a contribution to a charity of one's choice. Burial in the Evergreen Cemetery. The arrangements and funeral under the joint direction of Curtis and Son Funeral Home and John Rideout's Funeral Home. Funeral service for Wanda Lynn Bergen, age 65, will be Friday at 2:30 from Curtis and Son Funeral Home, North Chapel, with the Reverend Paul Hickman officiating. Burial in the Evergreen Memorial Cemetery. Visitation at the funeral home on Friday from 1 until 2:30. Online condolences at curtisandsonfh.com. Curtis and Son Funeral Home, North Chapel directing. Jeanette Smith Morris, age 86 of Sylacauga, died Wednesday at her residence. Visitation for Jeanette will be held Tuesday, July the 6th from 10 until noon at Curtis and Son North, with a graveside service following at noon in the Evergreen Cemetery. I'll be officiating that service. Online condolences at curtisandsonfh.com. Curtis and Son Funeral Home, North Chapel directing. Tommy Wilson, age 84, died July the 1st at Coosa Valley Medical Center. Community Funeral Home, Sylacauga, announcing. Funeral service for Mr. Donald Simmons, age 78 of Goodwater. Visitation will be Friday at Hatchet Springs Worship Center in Goodwater from 5 until 7, with the funeral service on Saturday at the old Goodwater High School Auditorium in Goodwater. Armours Memorial Funeral Home, Alexander City, in charge of the arrangements. Mr. Charles McKinney, age 32 of Goodwater, died June 21st. Funeral service Saturday at 11 a.m. from Armours Memorial Funeral Home. Armours Memorial Funeral Home, Alexander City, directing. Mr. Kentravius Moon, age 22, died June the 15th. Graveside service will be held Friday at Pine Grove Baptist Church Cemetery in Dadeville at 1 o'clock, with the Reverend G. H. Pullum officiating. And Vines Funeral Home Incorporated in Lafayette in charge of the arrangements. Darlene Duke Burton died on June 27th at the age of 60. Funeral arrangements to be announced at a later date. Paul Allen Beaver, age 68, died June 28th. Funeral service today at Ursery Funeral Home in Talladega at 11 o'clock, with Mick Barnett officiating. Be a visitation prior to the service. Actually, that was last night. And Ursery Funeral Home in Talladega in charge of the arrangements. Celebration of life, remembering Mr. Milton Fomby, age 65 of Pell City, will be Friday at 1 o'clock from S.M. Goodson Funeral Home Chapel in Talladega, with the Reverend Cameron Thomas officiating. Interment in the Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church Cemetery in Cropwell. Viewing today, 2 until 7 o'clock at the funeral home. S.M. Goodson Funeral Home and Crematory directing. Memorial service for Robert Perry Mann, age 74, is today at 4 o'clock from the chapel of Raddy Smith Funeral Home in Sylacauga. Pastor Charles Kelly officiating. Mr. Mann died June 25th at Grandview Medical Center. Raddy Smith Funeral Home directing. In other obituary news this morning, Alfonso Fain, age 75, died June 30th. Terry's Metropolitan Mortuary in charge of the arrangements. That is a look at obituaries this morning, brought to you by Courteous & Son Funeral Home, the North Chapel on Highway 21 in Sylacauga, and the Childersburg Chapel on Highway 280 in Childersburg. For pre-need funerals, burials, and cremation since 1975, Courteous & Son Funeral Home, Sylacauga, Childersburg.